I'm here in South Dakota at the rest stop visitor center or welcome center in Sioux City. Here at the visitor center, you can stop in and go in the boat, which is an old river boat, and we'll go in there. It's a flat bottom, sort of low draw river boat that was used to survey the river for boat traffic. And that would tell the, they would stick poles down each side and they would pull the river. And then later on, when there was sonar developed, they attached sonar to it. New bridge, well, the newest bridge. And further, you can see the interpretive center that I did a video on yesterday. But there's the river. We'll go inside the welcome center. Okay, we're in. A couple nice ladies work here. And there's a little gift store with drinks and things. More gift store. Seaman, he was on the Lewis and Clark expedition. So he was a dog. What kind of dog was he? I can't remember. So watercolor, maybe? Made that. That's a nice picture. So this is Floyd, Sgt Floyd, and they remade his likeness from a skeleton. Here's a cast of his skeleton, skull, and then it shows the artist, the remaker, doing it, how they reconstruct the face. So it's interesting. And we've got financial sponsors. Now we're in the belly of the boat. So there's the big motors. These motors used 70 gallons of diesel fuel per hour going up and down the river. Not a paddle boat. They used two 50-inch propellers and just a direct shaft, and the motors could spin the propellers in either direction. This is interesting. This is how you call the bridge, call the driver of the boat from the motor room. They probably had these things from different places throughout the ship. Kind of neat. This says Captain's House. I think that's what it says. Captain's House. That's original though. That's brass. This is the Sgt Floyd is the name of this ship. The original horns. Fairbanks, Morse and Company, Chicago, Illinois. Huh. machined, you know. Today it'd be plastic, or electronic. These are, it's an air gauge. Butters Pump and Equipment Company, Kansas City, Missouri. Huh. Companies were proud what they'd built and they put their name right on it. Those are embossed on there. Look at these. Today it would be operated with an app on your cell phone, right? Holy cow. Good place to get a map if you want a map. Nebraska, South Dakota. I might need a South Dakota. I try it in Nebraska too. I like state maps. Okay, that's the first floor. I'm sure I missed a lot, but the museum really is upstairs. Look at these things. The lines are cut. They're all copper. The exhaust. Maybe those were air intake. They look like they're exhaust though. Okay, let's go up to the pilot house. All the way up. I've not been up here yet. Some pictures of this boat in the water. Sgt Floyd headed downstream at Missouri River, mile 17, the end of New Halls Ferry Road, St. Louis County, Missouri. Show some of the construction of the boat. Here's the base of it. Howard Shipyards and Dock Company. Jeffersonville, Indiana. So they brought it up out of the water. Not with a crane, with side loaders, like these track loaders with cranes. Interesting. That's how they got it here. I thought it would have been one big crane, but apparently not. See, there it is coming out of the water. Here's a good picture. Good sun. Must have been the captain. It's a barge pushing a barge. Is that this boat? I wonder. Sgt Floyd. Lots of pictures of the boat in the water. There's the captain here. We're about to go up and see this. Final voyage. Port Neal to Soiux City. So this is the radio room. And it looks like it's locked. But we'll stick our hand in there. So it's all tongue and groove sided. And here's nice. It's got vinyl flooring. I wonder if that's like original from when they. They've got a desk, sort of a telephone system. I don't see another one of those brass. So it's interesting. Here's the quarters, captain's quarters. There's a bed. All right. Little bedpan. Must have had steam heat in through the. Interesting, very interesting. Pictures of his family and whatnot. Now there's smoke detector. That's a modern deal. And sprinklers. All right, let's go up to the bridge. There you go. Everything's brass too, you know. So they did have a sort of a depth guide. Somehow the instrument would maybe ride the bottom and send the signal up to here. Let's see what it's called. Oh no, look at this compass. I don't know if you can see that. That's an interesting compass. Big. You know. Very cool. Captain Massey. Now there's an air conditioner in here. I'm sure there wasn't before. Can't go out the doors. But this is where the captain would hang out. It's just got like household windows. Nothing special. Wooden. Painted up nice. So yeah, it says engine room. I guess there's only, you could call down before the phones were put in. This boat was built in 32, I think, 1932. So, but the phones were put in, there's looks like 5 lines: pilot house, forward deck, engine room, galley, and aft deck. But before the phones were put in, probably that's what they used. This is maybe some other sort of signal. It's like 2 people could operate it. These are the keels. Here's a little bathroom. It's got a shower in there. The captain's quarters. Chief engineer's quarters. Radio room. Back. Down we go. Now we'll go through the museum. Some more pictures of the boat in its heyday. Final painting. Jeffersonville, Indiana, 1932. War Department. Corps of Engineers, U.S. Army. Sgt Floyd. Missouri River improvement. So they named this boat after the only guy to die on the Lewis and Clark expedition, Sgt Floyd. He was 21. He died of appendicitis. They didn't know how to treat it. It was in 1804. So it was 128 years later. They dedicated this boat to him. Now, this is all about the Missouri River and transportation on the Missouri River. Not so much about Sgt Floyd anymore. Although, look at here. It says, don't touch the canoe. Dugout canoe. This rare dugout canoe was uncovered in 1941 by Army engineers dredging the Missouri River south of Soiux City near Tecumseh, Nebraska. Dugout canoes were used on the Missouri River either alone or tied catamaran style to another canoe and would transport both cargo and people. The bottom of this canoe is flat, and a rib was left on the other end of the canoe to support a plank between them to keep the cargo above any water that might be shipped into the canoe. Dugout canoe. I've never seen one of these up close. Very interesting. There's another paragraph. The canoe held many people's interest after being discovered and was actually written about in the book The Missouri by Stanley Vestal, a local Sioux City author. W.R. Felton described the canoe for Vestal's book. In the museum at Sioux City is a fine specimen of a canoe. It is nearly as good as new. Overall length is 12 feet 11 inches. It's very interesting. So it instructs us to go this way through the museum. On my travels, if you choose to follow this channel, here I am at Sioux City. I'm going to go up this way. I'm going to follow the Missouri River up to Sacagawea. And from there up to Mandan, and then I'm going up to Canada, and then over to Alaska. So that'll be my trip. So now you know. You can follow me. Map of Sioux City. Glacial formation of the Missouri River. See where the glaciers came down. I live in central Illinois. Like maybe down this far, because I'm right at the end of it. One of the moraines just is right by my house. The Iowa people, because just a lot of stuff to go through in this museum. Here's some points, stone points, tools, some of the peace pipes. I don't know what that thing is. Piece of horn, maybe? Buffalo horn? Some clay pottery. Looks like these things were put together a long time ago when this museum first opened. You learn about the Iowa tribe. This is a lot about the Indians, some of the people, depictions. Interesting. Some nice art. Things may have been like. So it says down the chute. This diorama depicts a flatboat loaded with furs heading downstream to St. Louis. Flatboats were rudderless craft that were controlled by the oarsman in front of the pole, oarsman in the front, and the poleman atop the shelter at the rear of the craft. The oarsmen are switching to poles to push the boat away from the snags back to the center. During spring, high water levels from snowmelt would swell the river over the banks of the main channel. The speed and volume of water would scour out new channels through the flat river plains and forests. This created shortcuts known as chutes or cutoffs. Chutes, Chuttes. On the winding Missouri, chutes could shorten the downstream trip by many miles. So, water always chooses its least resistance. There's sort of a flatboat overview curation done here. Kind of neat. And then paddle boats came on, when they learned how to do the mechanics of motors. Fur companies, fur trades, American fur companies and mountain men. There's a whole, hard to read. There's some beavers. It's a beaver. It's like fox. Badger, it says. Badger and a fox. It's a felt hat. They made those out of beaver, actually, believe it or not. Riverman, Trapper. Lewis and Clark expedition. 2 years. So that was Thomas Jefferson. Got together with Captain Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Both captains, I guess, is what it says. This is sort of a depiction of a keel boat like they had. These are some of the trade items, I guess. Some peace medals, which were just coins, metal points. Metal was a big deal for the Indians. Things that could trade the Indians. Tobacco, blankets, some personal effects each man would take. Things like this. It's kind of what the boat looked like. It had a sail. Burial of Sgt Floyd. He's on top of the hill, and there's a monument not too far from here. Kind of hard to read here. Something about the Yellowstone. Let's learn. Owned by the American Fur Company. It's the first steamboat on the upper Missouri. Yellowstone was the first steamboat to successfully navigate the upper Missouri River. It was constructed at Louisville, Kentucky, and delivered to the St. Louis-based American Fur Company in the spring 1831. Measured 120 feet, and it was 19 feet wide. It drew only 6 feet of water when loaded with 75 tons of cargo. Look how flat that guy is. Just a flat boat. And had side paddles. It made it as far as Fort Union in North Dakota. 1833. Third and final trip. So they built the boat and it only made 3 trips. Is a depiction of it. Wow. Called the Yellowstone. Here's another artist depiction of it. William Clark's map of the Missouri River between Vermilion, South Dakota and Ottawa, Iowa. So this he drew. So he would take longitude, latitude every so far, and it didn't do any good to map the Missouri River because it changed so much. It's not even close to where it was back then. Now, every flood, it would change. So Fort Union, you see, is way up here where the Yellowstone River comes in at the Missouri, and that's as far as that Yellowstone paddle boat made it, clear up to the Yellowstone River. The Yellowstone's not a small river, but Missouri starts way up here, southwestern Montana, of the mountains, past Yellowstone. So, some neat old pictures. Fort Benton, some of the freight. What a life they had. Here's Sgt Floyd's final burying place. It's on a bluff, not far from here. Marble slab. His first burying place was disturbed by floodwaters, and they did manage to find some of his remains, and they reburied him up higher because he was beloved as being the only person to die on the expedition. So here they are building his monument, and it's a huge monument. It looks a lot like the Washington Monument. It's not as big, but it's big. 123 feet. Here's a picture of it. Wow, somebody wrote a nice poem. It says, he sleeps beneath the stately shaft, beside the winding river, where prairie grasses clothe the sod, and stunted willows quiver. The waters murmur as they flow in a requiem, softly, faintly low. and the west winds sigh and shiver. No word can reach his earth-stoked ears, however loudly spoken. 2 words of praise, 2 words of blame, his dusk can give no token. He holds his vigil on the hill, in endless quiet, deep and still, in dignity unbroken. You can read the rest. Let's see, who will read Dunboy. So I don't have my glasses on. It is hard for me to read. Wooding on the river. This is how they powered a lot of the early steamboats, was just wood. You know, or just drag it up, cut it up. You know, didn't have chainsaws. I like these old pictures. Blair, Nebraska. This is Sioux City's levees. So back in the day, I guess this is a depiction of Sioux City. Back in the day, you know, there weren't dams. There's 6 dams now in Missouri. Back in the day, there were none. So the river would come up in spring in wet years, and sometimes, you know, after storm events, and flood everything. So, City, Iowa. The far west, it's a typical mid-19th century, so 1850-ish, Missouri River freighter built near Pittsburgh and designed for upper Missouri River trade. In 1872, it raced a rival steamboat, Nellie Peck, from Sioux City to Fort Benton, Montana, and back. Covered a distance of 2,000 miles. It beat the other boat back by 4 hours. And then this boat served as a hospital boat for Custer's 7th Cavalry during his campaign against the Sioux Nation. And then it carried 52 wounded soldiers 920 miles to Fort Union, North Dakota in less than 54 hours. So it was an ambulance boat as well in its day. And then it struck a sunken tree in 1883 near St. Charles, Missouri. And it was reclaimed. Okay, this video is getting kind of long. Lots of pictures of steamboats. You can come here. Bertrand, there's lots of little odes to steamboats. Casualties of a treacherous winter. 700 different steamboats plied the waters on the Missouri between 1819 and 1836. 400 were sunk in service, 300 permanently. So forget it. Probably not the best endeavor, you know. Who had it worse, coal miners or steamboat people? Here, look. See that where he's uncovering that shaft or that bearing chase? It's right there. Same thing. Ferry boat relics. See it there unburied out of the snow. So it shows you where they wrecked. This is kind of cool. And that's just, you know, Nebraska. So, you know, maybe 1/10 of the river. Okay. Benton. Logo boat. Okay. These are some of the more modern curations here as we get further. So this is it's getting more modern. Missouri River. We're going to be on it for a few days. Interesting. Some flooding. Okay. I think that's going to do it. So there's a lot of noise from the traffic, but this map shows you the trip from St. Louis, Kansas City, and then it turned north through Omaha, Council Bluffs, and then Sioux City. That's where we are. Now we're going to Yankton, and then we'll be in Chamberlain. And then, so they could navigate all the way so the Yellowstone River came in here, and then they could not navigate much past here, the confluence, but it says they had to portage around Great Falls. And then they got on the Clearwater River, which I've been on, and the Snake River, and then the Columbia River. Well, now I'm at the Floyd Memorial, and it appears to be an interesting place. So there is a nice big space for RVs here, parking area where you can turn around, and a picnic table. I just used the restroom, and there's electric in the restroom, and no plug-in. I didn't see a plug-in anywhere for emergency phone charging or anything, but It had electric light and running water. But let's see. You can drive up here. There's a big parking lot, picnic tables. It's a big bluff that overlooks Soiux City. Look at this thing. It's huge. I guess 128 feet high. This guy was a 21-year-old sergeant on the Lewis and Clark expedition who fell ill with appendicitis. There's a little QR code that you can scan. This is the one we just saw at the last stop. Same map. This is lit at night. 1857, Missouri River had eroded Floyd's bluff and nearly destroyed the grave. Concerned citizens from the new town of Soiux City recovered Floyd's remains and buried them 200 yards east of the old site, far away from the river. In 1894, publication of Charles Floyd's recently discovered journal revived interest in his gravesite. His remains were exhumed, reburied in sturdy urns, and marked by a large marble slab. The Floyd Association was formed and committed to erecting a permanent monument through the effort of Congressman George Perkins, former editor of Sioux City Journal. He appropriated $5,000, and then Iowa also gave $5,000, and the funds were matched from donations from private citizens. And in 1900, cornerstone was laid on the 20th anniversary of his death. See the wooden scaffolding they used. How they would get those big stones up that high, and things had to weigh pounds each. Sergeant Floyd, he was quartermaster of the Lewis and Clark expedition, so he was in charge of feeding everybody. And it's up. August 2018, peritonitis caused for inflammation around the ruptured appendix. He's from Kentucky. It's big. I don't know how big the monument will be when they bury me, but I don't think it'll be like this. Where is the grave? Maybe the grave's not here. Accommodation of the Louisiana Purchase made during the Thomas Jefferson administration, third president. April 30th, 1803, successful exploration. So after the purchase was made in 18, Thomas Jefferson was so proud of himself that he wanted to explore the territory. So he sent these folks up the Missouri River to find the Pacific Ocean and map and do what explorers do. It's quite large. August 20th, 1900. Grand Army of the Republic. Sure is old. It reminds me of those old gravestones, from an old graveyard. Chittenden, engineer and architect. Captain, Corps of Engineers. Oh, gravesite is here. So they put this monument on top. Registered National Historic Landmark in 1960. So here's the Missouri River. Across you see Nebraska. Hopefully you don't hear too much traffic, but it's quite the view here. Let's go out there and see. It's not too windy today, and I'm wearing my microphone, so sound is probably much better. Oh, there's a survey marker. Let's see what that says. U.S. Coast and Geologic Survey. Bluff. And I can't read it. Maybe you guys can read it. 1948. The rabbit hole. Some kind of animal den. I mean, something lives there. That's got to be a fox. They've been cutting down some trees. Flag's gone. Looks like this is gone. But yeah, there's the river. You see Sioux City. And you see Nebraska. Okay, I see they're etched in. Very hard to see on camera, I'm sure. Old South Sioux City, Nebraska, site of Old Town Covington, grave site of War Eagle, father-in-law of Figueroa. Figueroa's trading permanent settlement at the mouth of the Big Sioux River. There's a river named for Floyd. It's the Floyd River, not too far from here. Flooded. I can't remember the year that it flooded. So people have defaced this. And that's really annoying. We're all scribed in. Same with this. This has been defaced too. Mouth of Floyd River, encampment after burial of Floyd. That's clear down there by that bridge. War Eagle's grave, the riverboat Sergeant Floyd. We saw that in this video. So, all right. I think that's going to make it a wrap for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we've got one more plaque to look at, heading south. Charles Floyd Memorial Bridge. First Bride's Grave. I don't know what that is down there. But there's different locations significant to the Lewis and Clark expedition. And so let's make it a wrap. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll keep making videos as long as you guys keep watching. I hope you can subscribe to my channel. Kind of motivates me a bit to keep going. And I'm not looking to make any money or anything. I'm just kind of sharing some experiences, and see you on the next one. We'll come to you from Yankton, South Dakota in the next one, unless there's something more interesting along the way. But I think in Yankton there's some more Lewis and Clark stuff, and we'll get to it.